What's up, everybody? Welcome back to OnlyFarts. Thank you. Good to be here. If you're watching right now, you can tell that this is definitely not my apartment. It's a lot nicer to set up. I got a bit of a casting couch situation. We'll get into all that. But first, some plugs up top. If you like me, which I know you do, follow me on Instagram at dammitbrad, at chefasshole. If you're one of the kids, join the TikTok army at dammit_Brad. And hey, if you want to give me a little money, patreon.com/onlyfarts. This is going to be a hot episode, I can already tell. My first and only guest I've ever had. Well, did you guys hear that croak? I feel like I just read my bar mitzvah portion right there. My first guest ever. It's awful. My first guest, we go way back in the stand-up world. He was on America's Got Talent, a good buddy of mine here in Los Angeles. Funny thing about, you know what? I'll tell you when he sits down, all right? So, without further ado, Mr. Erick Hellwig. Let's bring him on. This is just like, you're making an entrance.
This is great. It takes a lot of balls to have me introed in my own home. Be like, get off your own couch.
I just love how you also made that little walk like you had somewhere, like you were coming from somewhere you've never been before.
I was standing right here. I was standing right there. And you're like, let me give you an intro.
He also did the Tonight Show shuffle, you know, like the, kind of acting like he's humbled to be here. Not like it's his home or anything.
Well, might as well. I think like podcasting is now more valuable than doing late night. So we might as well get all of our late night things out on podcasts.
Wave
I
to
think
nobody.
It's probably smarter.
No,
yeah.
I think that's valuable. Well, thank you for doing this on such short notice.
Does this read how close we're sitting in real life?
Do you guys want us to make out? Join patreon.com now. /only. We're just going to make this into an OnlyFans at this point.
It's horrifying.
What I wanted to say before I brought you on was, I don't know if I told it when I was on your podcast, but when I first moved to LA, Eric moved before me, like maybe 3-4 months before. And I remember we went to lunch. You took me to lunch at some Mexican place, but I get into your car. You stare at the steering wheel. You look at me, you go, I want to get the fuck out of this state. And I'm like, no, dude, I just landed. You're like, no, This place fucking sucks. It's awful. I hate it here. And then like months later, the kid gets America's Got Talent. So, that's kind of what it is. I feel like you have to reach your breaking point right before you get your break.
That's the best advice I have. I still have that advice, by the way, for you. Just get the fuck out of here. Like, it's not a good place to live. I also like you calling it my break. I was depressed being here. I got AGT, and then 2 months after AGT, I was like, I still need to get the fuck out of here. Like, it worked for 2 months.
Let them believe that you got the break, and then it made it better. Yeah.
No, like somebody texted me the other day, and they were like, "Hey man, listen to your podcast. It's so good to hear you're doing well, and you're getting sponsors on the show." I'm like,
what,
bro? If it's sounding like I'm doing well, then I'm doing a great job of fucking lying.
You're more LA than you think you are.
Oh my God, dude. It's so, I miss New York, and just everybody's life is equally shitty in New York. Even people that are doing well are like watching homeless people shit on them. And I mean, I guess now in LA that homelessness is for everybody, but
you're not any more depressed than the next person. They might be depressed with a bit more accolade, whereas everyone here acts like when they have the accolades, they're on top of the world.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like when you see someone get something and then you'll just see them at a bar show later that night, so it doesn't really strike a chord with you. Whereas like in LA, you might not see that person for months, and that might just be because of convenience and traffic and just like you're not at the right place at the right time. New York is so convenient that you can run into people who just get things. So you see that they're still kind of in the shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas LA, you can just disappear, and everyone's like, man, they did so well, and then I haven't seen them since.
I didn't get my hangs in.
I didn't get enough hangs in with them.
Dude, it's like the way people talk in LA about their accomplishments. Like if somebody was talking to me like that in New York, I would like wait for them to leave. I would put on a ski mask and go mug them outside. Like I wouldn't let them talk to me in such an obnoxious way. But here it's like everybody's...
It's a language.
Yeah, like the language of... It's like... I remember one time a manager in New York was like, you should have an elevator pitch for like if you go in for a meeting. Like you should be able to like...
Sell yourself.
Pitch yourself in 15 seconds.
Absolutely.
And here it's like everybody. It's like that.
Everyone's
the
got
weird
an
part would be
pitch.
like, hey, you should have a way to introduce yourself where you're just talking about yourself as a human being. You should have that just in case, because the elevator pitch is what everybody does. There's like very few times where you meet somebody and they're like, yeah, I think I'm gay. I don't want to tell anybody. Like it's like no one does that. Everyone's just pretending like things are really good and they're on the up.
Well, because they are.
It's such shit, man. It's too hot.
Well, because social media said so everything's
it's too
great.
hot. It's
don't the whole.
Okay,
it's
dude,
too hot.
well,
okay, can I ask you a question?
I live in the fucking valley, dude. It is too hot.
Like I don't live in the valley with you. Like
you don't think it's too hot?
No.
It's because you're wearing a fucking open robe.
I said it was a casting couch for a reason. No.
Am I supposed to talk to this or talk to you?
You could do both.
All right,
Is this your first time with a camera in your face? You fucking amateur.
It's the first time with a camera in my face in my own home.
Oh, no.
Where
You know
a
what this is?
comic
I'm
tells
sorry.
me to
I
get
gotta
off my own couch.
I got to call him
to
out.
introduce me.
No, this is the first time that Eric has been on a podcast where they're actually filming him, and he's too busy being in his own cave where he
Listen
can.
to this LA phony.
Because he can be
He's
fucking.
an LA phony.
Oh, get the fuck out of here, dude.
With his fucking video element.
Well, because I have an advantage, and that you could do it yourself.
I'm not shitting on you having video for your podcast. Okay,
I'm shitting on you.
I know you're shitting on me.
I'm not hiding that.
Look, I'm not saying like I will never have video on my podcast. I'm just saying I have other things to do, like sit in my own house and stew on the things I don't like about LA. I can't be putting up my own camera.
I personally think one of the biggest appeals to you getting angry is when I can see it. When I hear it, I'm like, all right, this sounds like someone leaving an angry voicemail. But when I watch you and I watch your like clips or your stand up, I'm like, you have so much like animation to yourself on stage that I feel like without that, and I'm not saying you couldn't record an album, I'm just saying I'd rather watch the video if I could. Personally, that's me. I don't think that's everybody, but I also think we're leaning towards a video generation. And people will still listen to podcasts while they're in the car, but let's say you are a New York commuter, if you're in a commuter town where you sit in a train, video just kind of kills time to me. More time passes.
Well, look, here's the thing. You're right. And first off, if I have video, it's not like I couldn't just take the audio and people that are listening to audio would still have their thing. But then it would open up new people to my show. So I agree with that. And also, I trust that like you are more in touch with the youths. You know, as I recall,
because
you're 34 years younger than me, even though you look like my father, and you are.
I'm proud of you, though.
Thank you. No, seriously, you're like 14 years old, and you have like a TikTok following.
Sure.
My understanding is you're not allowed to be over the age of 12 on TikTok unless you're making content. So you have like a bunch of very young children probably telling you. I mean, it's smart. It's smart.
Do you know what this sounds like? This sounds like the type of person that doesn't like change.
Listen,
and this is coming from someone who has the wisdom of a 70-year-old sometimes that I'm trying to explain to this person. And I'm everybody that yelled at me, by the way. Like, shout out to everybody that yelled at me to get on TikTok and do all the things I did, because I wouldn't be at the stage that I am if I didn't do that. This person in general is too funny not to be doing it, just like he tells me like I'm too funny not to do stand-up or whatever.
This is a guy with a fan base of woke teenagers with a blog titled
not true.
OnlyFans is no laughing matter, and they're waiting to hit send. They're waiting for the first thing you say. No, here's the thing. I think I'm fucking with you.
I know.
I think you're. Let me just blow you real quick. No, I think you're doing
and demonetized.
I think you're doing a great job. I love what you're doing with the little video clips of the podcast on
dude, it's
Instagram.
my favorite thing to do.
Smart. It's smart.
We'll find something in this, and then I'll use it as a clip. Probably
and then just delete the rest of it.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling.
How many listeners do you have?
Oh, not a lot.
Not a lot.
No, it's not even worth mentioning. Like you actually had decent. You have numbers. I don't have numbers yet.
I have a little bit of numbers.
So this is the 11th episode. On Facebook, I just don't even post anymore. I'll just throw the link up on Facebook, and then I'll promote it through Instagram and TikTok as much as I can. And sometimes I won't acknowledge it because TikTok doesn't like when you market like any other social media app. They want to knock you down for that. But yeah, mine's not there yet. I think that with the clips, it's definitely going to help.
But the thing is when I go on Instagram and I look at clips of your show, you have like thousands of people watching the clips.
No, not yet. No, like about like a couple hundred people right now. I haven't broke 1,000 on a clip yet.
Have you really?
On one reel about dry scooping, that's the only thing that did really well.
Okay, that must be the only clip.
And that's the most controversial thing I've talked about. And I still am getting shit. I do want to talk about that actually, if I mind do a little segue to that. So I did this clip on my podcast about dry scooping, and I've talked about this again because this happened with a couple other these young 17-year-old bodybuilders who were too busy shoving needles in their ass and trying to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Sure, I'm a fat piece of shit. I agree. I'm ignorant, and that's the point of this. I like to bust your balls to make you angry. However, if you're gonna come after me, I'm gonna bite back. We don't sit here. If someone was heckling us, we're just gonna let that fucking happen?
No, of course not.
Absolutely not, right? So this kid does this, right? He stitches it. That's what you do on TikTok. You stitch a clip or you duet it, right? Duet it is if you're just side by side. Stitching is literally cutting off a clip after like 5 seconds and then inserting XYZ joke or opinion on a video. Usually it's opinions because that's what social media is. But this kid decided he was going to make a joke, and he was like this bodybuilding douchebag, like he's probably 17. He goes, "Tell me you're a beta without telling me you're a beta." And I was like, all right, well, fuck this kid. But
Wait,
also,
he took your clip
and then inserted himself just
that.
going, "Tell me you're a beta without telling me you're a beta," because I was talking about how dry scooping's fucking stupid as shit and blah, blah, blah.
I don't even know what dry scooping is.
So dry scooping, for the people at home and for the old people sitting on this couch, it's when you take pre-workout and you dry scoop it in your mouth without water and just swallow it.
Oh, I saw somebody doing that at the gym yesterday.
So apparently it's giving people heart attacks. Which, first of all, the whole concept of dry scooping is like, are you trying to give yourself the cinnamon challenge and choke? Like, I don't get the hot, because girls would do it and like they'll like fucking do a little twerk, and I'm like, you're trying to choke and die, but apparently they're getting heart attacks.
I literally got into not a fight, but like a little like verbal thing with somebody at the gym the other day because they were dry scooping on the place where you change, and I had just like like the bench where the fucking
there's all sorts
lockers
of,
are.
You know what I was gonna say? There's tons of steroids that are gonna get mixed in.
Well,
that
dude,
bench.
I'm also like naked with my dick hanging out, trying to put my clothes on.
Oh, by the way, are you one of those guys?
Well, I went swimming.
That's not answering the question.
I don't walk.
Are you already at the age where you're the old confident man who lets his dick swing around the fucking locker room?
This is what I do. I went swimming. I'll walk you through the whole thing.
Okay.
The whole boring fucking thing. I went swimming at the gym. I went to the showers. Yes, I took my suit off, but I'm like not facing towards people. Like clean up.
Sure.
I got a towel. I put the towel over, so my dick is not hanging out.
Sure.
Walk back to my locker to get my clothes out.
Right.
So yes, my dick is out for 5 seconds as I put my boxers on.
That's not how you said it, though. You made it sound like, "Oh, my dick hanging out."
Well,
but you know what I'm talking about.
He was in the place where my dick is out for 5 seconds. He's at the locker.
The way you were saying it, though, made it sound like you're the old man who has his towel like 20 feet away from him for some reason, and just walks at him naked, being like, "So, what do you do?" And it's like, get away from me.
No, I'm not. I don't like walk into the sauna like with my balls dripping. No, I don't do that. I towel up.
But I do think where this story leads to is that at some point in the next 20 years, you will be that confident old man with his dick hanging out, being like,
I could be.
You seem like a young, wise man. What do you do for a living? And he's just like, "Sir, I am a construction worker." Like he just can't handle. So we're gonna be so progressive at that point where the guy's gonna be talking to your dick without having the urge to touch it.
Yes, it's gonna be. You're gonna be like labeled a bigot if
you don't look at someone's dick.
Yes,
it's like, "Hey, we're in the locker room. You look at my dick when I'm speaking to you."
Exactly.
What a phrase to live by. So back to the thing, right? So the kid says, "Tell me you're a beta without telling me you're a beta." So I stitch him back. So I had to watch it a couple times because I was like, all right, I need to look for something here. Because like, here's the thing with like roasting in a stand-up comedy show, it's easy. You see the person, you pick apart their date for going out with them, whatever. Because there's always a dude. Girls who heckle you just be like, you're drunk or whatever. Like, you're entitled. Your dad paid for everything. It's just very easy to put people
And you
down.
always make it racial.
Always make it. No.
No.
So I hate you so much. So I look at the video. I watch it a couple times, and then I notice the kid's got a missing eyebrow.
Oh.
And I was like, "You gonna come after me when you got no fucking eyebrow?" So I green screen the video in the background, and then I pop my head open. I go, "Where's your eyebrow, you fucking beta?" And then I repost it. Then that kid reposts that video, and he goes, "I'm not even going to make a joke about this, blah, blah," and then has a picture of a bald head, basically making a really bad, if I had a joke, I wouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it, but I'm not going to say it. And it's just making fun of that I'm bald. So at that point, I'm like, we're done. I won because you didn't even have a comeback. His girlfriend comments on my video. How do I know it's his girlfriend? Well, I stalked her page, and I see videos of him and her together, and they're being all cutesy or whatever. And she goes, "It's a fucking medical condition. Try harder next time, blah, blah, blah." And I just write under it. I go, "I'm no doctor, but a girlfriend sticking up for a boyfriend like this is pretty fucking beta to me."
Yeah.
And then I got a bunch of likes on that. And I had quite the day on that.
Okay, I'm worried about you.
Why?
Because I don't believe you should be engaging with these. It's you because you compared it to stand-up and hecklers. But there's a function of dealing with a heckler at a stand-up show in that if you don't, the fucking show is ruined. Like a heckler gone unaddressed by a comic, the audience goes, "Oh no, is the comic nervous?" Like there's a sense of like if something's happening in the audience, not even a heckler, you have to address it for the sake of other people who paid to see that show and just like whatever, your soul as a comedian. But if you're online, what you're doing with this guy is not scalable. Like, you know that. Like you, unless you want your whole life to be clapping back at 17-year-old one-eyebrow.
Listen, I'll put it this way. There were a lot of people who came, like there was like at least 10 videos of kids stitching themselves being like, "This kid's fat and doesn't know what he's talking about." I let it go. And then after it was like randomly, like it happened on a day where I was like, "Fuck today." And then I see that. I'm like, well, I found my thing. I'm going to take my anger out. I just did it. I went for it. Don't
make your case to them. Make it to me.
Listen.
You have
for
to.
Both people. It's for both.
No, stop looking at them.
Look at me. Both people.
Brad, you gotta let that shit go, man. I'm telling you, I used to do an old me. I used to do this online news thing. It was like we found out later it was like libertarian. I don't care about what it was politically. But like. I was doing news. It was me and Liz, my wife. Yeah, were like doing these like joke news stories, I guess. And it, for whatever reason, because I thought the content sucked, it would get like 500,000 listens or views on YouTube. Like it blew up. It ended up becoming a big thing. So the comments on like Liz specifically being like, "She looks like a dumb whore. Look at this cunt."
For sure.
And I remember I was like. There was one dude that said something, and I told myself, we made a pact, me and my wife, never look at the comments. Just don't even fucking engage, or don't engage with the negative ones. First video, somebody writes something like that. Oh, they wrote, "She looks like she gives boring hand jobs." Which is funny.
That's really funny.
But like,
it's just a very clever, weird.
I was filled with fury. I was like, this is the future mother of my children. So I find the guy. I do what you do. I found him, and I find a picture of him and his wife and his 2 daughters.
No.
And I fucking message him on Facebook, and I'm like, "Your own fucking children, you piece of shit.
Oh
you
my
fucking."
God.
I white knight it hard.
Oh my Lord.
Like 10 out of 10 boners, white knight, trying to get fucked. I go full out on him, and then as soon as I hit send, I'm like, "Why did I do that?"
And then what do you say back?
Well, 6 months pass. I forget about it, and then I get a message from him that just says, "Who's this?" And that was it. So this is the lesson. Just don't. Because you have to listen. Let me make my point. Let me make my point. Okay. And then you can go to them for your fucking I feel better moments. But for me, you get the fucking truth. You have to build in yourself a discipline. Because you are very funny, you're going to get more people listening, and when people see your success, they're going to trash you just because you're having success. So if you give in to one of them, you're giving into all of them. So let that story be your fucking lesson and be like, and now I don't waste my time with that shit.
Listen, I'll say this about TikTok specifically, and this is not the other platforms, and like, I love the attention that it gets, when it, like people comment or they tag their friends, and I'll write something, and I'll usually write something funny or cute, like just back. Just to show, like, hey, I'm watching, because a peak, like, the kids get so, like, "Oh, my God, that you responded." Like, when they do douchey shit, I don't want to welcome it as much, and that's why I do it here and there. I don't, like, in the beginning, I was aggressive when someone, like, would write something, I would be like, "Oh, fuck," come up with some clever roast. But with this one specifically, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to let him get away with that, because I was like, you know what, I want to have fun with this. Because I never respond back in video to anything. I usually will just like comment back. But he was just like, "All right, let's just see, if this does anything for me." Like I was doing more for me. I'm like, "Well, this gets some views,
Yeah.
When I clap back, it's not to say fuck you as much as like, let's see if you can keep up with me. Because if you wanna poke my buttons, like I'm a comedian, I will take your hits. I don't mind roasting people. Like roasting people is not a big deal. And when they roast me and when it's funny, I'll even go LMFAO. Like That is pretty fucking. That was good. Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. When my friends roast me, I want to fucking punch them because like they know, because everyone knows your insecurities. Like they'll hit you where it hurts.
Yeah.
When someone tells me my driving sucks, I want to just fucking knock them in the face. And that happens a lot. So like what I guess what my
Worried for your partner.
Sure.
I'm worried for
I mean,
you.
we're first of all, we're both bad drivers. I'll put that on the record. I'll put that on my driving record. So, I guess what my point is that I don't want you to be so worried as much as like, yeah, I'm going to respond back to people roast me. I'm not going to respond to, like, okay, I'll put it this way. The last 48 hours was the first time I didn't have to respond back to all comments in general because I had so many people like interacting with my content.
Yeah.
And I was making fun of fat people, which former fat kid, real former fat kid. My heaviest was over 250. So I can relate with it. I'm not the fattest I ever been, but I'm not the most in shape I've ever been. So I felt comfortable making the video. People just tagging their friends being like, hey bro, why'd you have to do that about me? Like kind of just making it about themselves or whatever. And like, it was fun to be like, okay, finally people responding to content positively in a fun way, making fun of themselves too. And I'm like, cool, great. But when I do something controversial, when I address the bodybuilding community and say that you're a bunch of fucking steroid using pussies, you know, people get mad.
Yeah. Well, we'll transition off of this because I think intervention with a therapist is the only way to convince you of my point. But I want
I know listen, you have a valid point. And and I know when you went down that rabbit hole, yes, that's like okay, first of all, what I did and what you did, you were like at rock bottom of answering comments. You went to the Facebook, find the family and all that shit. I'm like, oh my God, I wouldn't go that far. I just used their TikTok profiles. I'm like, okay, I can connect the dots here. Great, got it.
I drove to Colorado Springs and
like
knocked on his door.
You drove to their house. You go,
I looked up his
hey,
military
dickhead,
record.
Does this look, you just have Liz jerk you off in front of their house. Does this look boring to you?
Oh, I'm coming so hard. No,
this is the most exhilarating thing ever. And it was just like, no, this is kind of boring. I want to go home.
To me, I was like, I'm glad I did it from a rock bottom place because I was like, I never want to do this again. And I've since, because like I can think of, I remember the most hurtful YouTube comment I ever got was I was at this theater called The Pit in New York, and they made a video where I was the snitch, which is like the the gold ball from Harry Potter.
Yes.
But I was like just in a full gold leotard or whatever, covering my face, and I was.
What did the comments call you?
There's only one comment. There wasn't comments. It was just one comment. It got like 13 views. And what the one comment was, who's the fat guy in the gold suit? And I like, sometimes I go to sleep at night and all I hear is the echoes of fat guy in the gold suit, fat guy in the gold suit.
But it's got to be a whisper like, who's the fat guy?
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, and it sounds like my dad. So it's like a whole, and it's me. It's fucking, but like, so I totally get that it fucks with you, but whatever. I've said my opinion.
No,
I want to say something too that you touched on when you were like people making it about themselves. One of the funniest things that ever happened to me was after the AGT performance. I was death on AGT, if you guys remember that.
Please look it up on YouTube. It is a great clip of content. I love it. I love his actual death content outside of that. So definitely
you can find it on my YouTube page, tubgirl.com. You'll find that's my YouTube page. You have to go through tubgirl.com.
Shut up.
The kids don't know what tubgirl.com is.
Isn't it? It's Tub Girls.
No, it's Tub Girl. It's one girl.
I thought oh yeah, because she is one girl.
Yeah. I mean, unless they've added.
I feel like
there's no way there's more girls.
This generation is already so screwed up that Tub Girl is just like child's play.
Yeah,
like they would smoke a cigarette and blow it in our face, being like, "Tub Girl."
No,
you don't know the things I've seen.
All of your TikTok followers can only come if Tub Girl is like on in the fucking background.
In the rotation.
Yeah, it's horrifying. But so I did this AGT performance where I'm death, and you don't see this in the TV version, but in real life,
right?
In the TV version, I'm on stage doing the stand-up for like 45 seconds and bombing. In real life, I did like a 7-minute set that was kind of doing this, and I was getting laughs and then boos and then laughs.
They made you look like.
But that's fine though. Yeah. It's like I have no weirdness that they edited it. It's reality TV, like it's fake. But and I'm cool that they made him lose, by the way, too, because that's fine as well.
It kind of goes with the brand.
Yeah, but. So after I get X'd off the show, they're like, let's shoot some more stuff right now. Like, they have more ideas to like build the backstory of the character.
Right.
So we start running around the theater, and there's like, I'm like cutting the brakes to Simon's car and just doing all this shit that they wanted to get as much stuff as they could that night because they have the crowd there. And so at one point, I'm like in the crowd as death watching other people perform, and they were getting like a shot of me like dreaming about AGT or whatever, and some purple-haired loser comes up to me.
First of all, as they are.
Who has purple hair and is crushing it? Sorry, Whitney.
I don't know what color it is this month.
Maybe it's blue.
Maybe.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
But like, some guy in purple hair comes up and goes, "Hey, bro." Oh no. So I told a joke.
They definitely don't say "Hey, bro."
So I told a joke that was like about killing everybody's grandparents.
Oh yeah.
I can't even remember what the joke was, but it's an old bit. And then he comes up and he's like, "Hey, man, I didn't like that joke you told about my grandma."
Oh my god! And first of all, give it to a person with purple hair to make it about themselves.
Dude,
being like, I'm sorry, your grandmother wasn't memorable enough to make the joke about them.
What I wanted to say to him was like, maybe he thinks I'm really deaf, because like, it wouldn't be offensive if he thought of just like me as a guy.
Right.
How would I know his grandma? But if he thought I was really deaf.
Right.
Then I would have known about his grandma. It would have been about her. So I kind of took it as like, because I'm a method actor, you know, I'm a real douchebag. When I get in the death character, I was like, hey,
it's part of
it
the
was
appeal.
about his grandma. Like that was like I was like, it was.
And what'd you say back?
Oh, I almost fought him. And then they had to.
So you weren't even in character at that point anymore.
No, I was still in character, but I wanted to fight him, and they had to separate us.
Wow.
This is in the audience of AGT. There was like some dude fucking flamenco dancing on stage.
And then you just see Death. You see Death pushing another
with cameras almost fighting this dude.
That's amazing.
Because it wasn't that he was like annoyed. It was that he was like getting confrontational. Like he was coming at me. And when people do that to me, like I don't have some idea of myself as like some fighter guy. But I was also.
But put it this way: if you're in a death costume and someone tries to fight you, you gotta put some fist up to defend yourself. Because first of all, nothing would make me laugh harder than seeing someone with purple hair getting the shit kicked out of them by a guy who's dressed up like death.
I really did want to fight, and I also think like if that had made the show, I would have been so happy.
First of all, it wouldn't have made the show, but it definitely would have been a leaked clip that made it to like TMZ being like, chaos broke out at AGT auditions this month, and you just see you kicking the shit out of this kid with purple hair.
I think I could have taken him. He seemed like he was pretty fucked up. And like he was kind of scrawny.
Why the fuck was he there?
I think I had.
First of all, why was he fucked up at like AGT?
Dude, everybody there's fucked up. There's only two types of people in the audience at AGT. It's like high school cheerleaders and like methed out cokehead. Like that's all. It's like
true.
people on drugs.
They do pick up people off the street to go.
And they also pick people who try to get on the show that couldn't get on the show. They're like, hey.
Well, it's like American Idol would be like, oh, you know.
I know you wasted your whole day auditioning thinking you have talent, but you want to come back tonight and boo people? And they're like, fuck yeah.
They're like, I got to take my anger out somehow because I live by myself.
Sure.
I don't know.
Look, that show is insane. It was an insane experience.
I think it was a pretty good experience for you, though.
It was. But the good experience was like months later when it aired. I got like stuff out of it, which was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like the actual doing it, like it's still, I still got booed by 4,000 people.
And that is an incredible feat. I mean, I'll say this as far as like compare and contrast stories of like stand-up shows that are like from hell was like I performed at this thing called Dirty at 12:30, and basically it was the biggest crowd I ever performed for. It was like 500 plus people in the back of the casino, and I got the spot last minute. I had a 10-minute spot. They literally told me right before, and then like I was following Alonzo Bowden, just murders.
That's easy.
Just murders the place, just mowing it down with whatever joke he had. It didn't matter if it was good or not. It fucking crushed. And then I'm like, well, if he crushed, I got to bring the room back into my territory because I'm fucking thinking to myself, I'm not funny enough to follow this guy.
So you put your robe on.
So I went right into crowd work, like everyone else does, and I just fucking ate it harder. And then I got heckled. I dealt with the heckler. That got a laugh. And then they lit me early because they're like, this is going to be a shit show. Because my jokes were bombing. But like my heckle, like answering a heckle worked, which is crazy because usually if I'm bombing and someone heckles me, I'm not going to have a retort. I'm usually going to be so low in confidence that I'm like, fuck you. And then it's like nothing.
Yeah.
I actually had a joke. Then they lit me and got off stage. And then my buddy who got me on the show, who's, doing pretty good for himself, and he had a rep, and he vouched for me hard. He's smoking a big ass cigar, like almost comical, right? So he's like a big ass cigar. He's not even looking at me, And I just walk up to him. I go, dude. And then he just blows out a big O, like O-ring, and just goes, fucking crowd work. And I was just like, I'm so sorry. We hadn't spoken since then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he really was kind of upset about it. He was kind of pissed.
He's a fucking asshole. Then.
No, I mean, like, whatever.
That's
an
asshole
Hey,
move.
listen, man. I mean, like, when you're in that scene, too, like, he was living in that scene. That show has such a reputation in Vegas. I will say that. It's like a heavy hitter show. I should not have been on that show. I will say, if I was going to be on that show, I should have been before everybody and not where I was. Like, I was in, like, the headliner territory. Like, the person after me was one and then the headliner. I'm like, this should have been somebody who was ready to fucking crush. I didn't have a solid 10 that I could even think of. I was day drinking half the day. I was fucked up. So it was a mess.
One time I did a spot at Gotham, and Jerry Seinfeld showed up and went right before me.
Oh, that's fun.
And he was doing, like, all right. But not like Jerry Seinfeld.
But also, like, Jerry Seinfeld, all right, is still crushing for us.
Well, no, here's the thing. He was working on new shit.
Sure.
And I wanted to get up and be like, what's the deal with that shitty act? But I didn't do it.
Oh, no.
But I really was like, do I want to, like, really fuck up my, like, reputation with this club and make fun of Seinfeld? Because they put me up after. And I was like,
I wish you said it. I wish you said it.
There's, like, some things you, like, regrets you have. And that is definitely one of them is, like, I wanted.
What's the deal with comedians from the 90s? Anyways, guys, I just fucking go to your act.
It was like, that was early in me doing, because I didn't really start stand-up until I was, like, 28. And I think I might have been, like, 30 when that happened. That was, like, the first club I was getting spots at was Gotham, because I had a reputation. I had a relationship with the dude that ran this show there. But, like, fuck, I wish I'd had that confidence. 3 years in, it's hard. 3 years in, they're like, you're following Seinfeld. I'm like, come on.
Well, let's move on from the stand-up talk, because I could literally talk to you about stand-up for hours, even though I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm getting over getting sick. Let me ask you something. I have a hot take. I don't think soup's a meal.
I think soup's a meal.
No.
One time I was doing this stand-up bit about soup.
I fucking hate you.
And I was, I think soup's a meal. It depends what kind of soup.
What do you mean?
Like, if you have, like...
if it's loaded with meat and proteins and stuff?
Yeah, it can be a meal.
Yeah, well, then that's just a stew at that point. There's a difference between soup and stew. And then there's chili, and then there's jambalaya.
What's the deal with soup and stew?
You're really pushing for it.
Stew... I think you're probably right. I mean, I don't know. Like, you're saying, like, so a clear soup.
Well, let me ask you something. Are you a guy who goes out for dinner being like, you know what? I want to have soup for dinner.
One time, my wife's father was out here, and we were out here for Thanksgiving. This might have been the first year we were in LA.
Okay.
And we were like, let's go out for a place, and we were like, let's just go somewhere we've never been. Let's have like an interesting Thanksgiving meal.
Soup Plantation?
You didn't go to? Is Soup Plantation a thing?
Oh, it was a thing. It was owned by Sweet Tomatoes. It's like it's a buffet for old people. That's just salad, soup, a weird pizza station, and then like baked potatoes and pasta.
And it was called Soup Plantation?
And also Sweet Tomatoes. Those are two names.
Just the name Soup Plantation, I would, right off the bat, I'm like...
terrible market. Terrible. Plantation should be retired.
Come on down to the Plantation.
Soup
Plantation. Get yourself some soup. Yeah, no thanks. We went to this Russian place. It was like, so we had like a Russian Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll have borscht. Because I've just like heard, I've just heard people say that
okay, first of all,
word before.
As a Russian Jew... Gross.
Borscht.
First of all, the name is super unappealing.
The name's insane. The name has like...
The borscht sounds like an old Russian Jew that was hitting on you at a bar.
Borscht. Somehow it's like borscht is
come back to my Hyundai Sonata. I will show you great time.
Borscht is the only word that has like more syllables than letters in it. But that's
most of the Russian language.
Yeah. It takes like 35 minutes to name
borscht.
something. So I had it, and it was pretty gross. And I was like, okay, now I've...
And they serve it two ways. It's usually cold or hot, I believe.
I had it cold. I wanted to have it as poor. I wanted to really eat like a Russian peasant.
Can you name... Okay, put it this way. Name a food that you eat in a meal setting that's cold that's not already been sitting in the fridge. That's not fruit or a smoothie or an acai bowl.
I can't think of one.
Right? Because a meal's not supposed to be eaten cold. Gazpacho. Borscht. Gross.
I remember like somebody gave me like a which would you rather scenario, and it was like, would you rather like have your cock cut off or never be able to eat a hot meal again?
What?
And I was like, it wasn't the cock cut off for the first part, but one of the things like, would you? I had
that
to
would
consider,
be a really aggressive term. Like, would you rather have no dick or never eat a hot thing in your life?
Well, you're a chef. What would you rather lose?
Oh, I would definitely never have a hot meal ever again.
You would cut.
I would keep my.
You
dick.
would cut out
hot meals because first of all, most foods when they're in the fridge are fine. Like if you're like, you can't have this pizza until it's sitting in the fridge. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
What I would do for a hot meal sometimes, yeah, maybe I'd cut my dick off. But
can I tell you what I answered?
Sure.
I was like, I will eat cold meals and I'll cut off my own dick, because then you control your own fate.
What?
No, fuck it. This didn't work.
Jesus
Look,
Christ. Are you guys laughing back there? I fucking hope you aren't, because I didn't get that.
The point of this was I had to think about how often I eat.
Can you guys all write
meals.
in the comments some mean shit about how Erick's joke wasn't funny?
I won't respond to it. I'm not fucking
He'll find your Facebook, your social,
enough.
and all your family members and being like, do you know you were related to this fucking piece of shit who wrote this comment?
The saddest thing about this show is both of us appealing to them at the same time. These people in here. Who are these people?
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Can I tell you a moment I had with Seinfeld after I was on stage with them? No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bring up the stand-up thing. I'm just saying it's a moment I had with Seinfeld.
I was so happy we were talking about soup and
We'll go back
to
soup. We'll go back to your soup talking point. But look, I want to say this Jerry Seinfeld story.
Sure.
So I got off stage after following Seinfeld. I actually did all right in the show. And he's at a table.
He goes, hey, kid.
You know how, here's the thing. You know how like when you're early in stand-up.
Sure.
And someone says something nice to you,
and and that is like your trophy piece for the rest of your.
And you're just like, that's the only
next couple years until you get one of those other little gems.
That's the only good thing you have in stand up for a few months.
Absolutely.
So like,
that's how I felt when someone's like, "This set's good for late night."
Yeah.
And then I sat on that for a couple months, and then I just let that eventually die.
Eventually it dies, but So Seinfeld goes up. Right. I go up after him. I do well. I go back to like just sit down in the back of the thing, and then Seinfeld comes and sits next to me.
Oh wow!
And I want to show you what he did.
Okay.
He sits next to me, he pulls out his phone, and he goes like this. That was it. He didn't say anything to me. He didn't say a word. He had nothing nice to say. He wasn't paying attention. So that thing about people saying nice things, that didn't happen at that time. You like that bit?
What did the owner say to you? Eric, that was great. Make sure you bring 10 people again next time so we can put you up.
Gaffigan said something nice one time.
Yeah,
that was
nice.
Cool. He's a nice guy.
Hold on, I want to see what other.
What else are we going to talk about? Some food.
You know what I wanted to go back to? Where's the time at? Oh, we're doing good. What I wanted to say also when we were talking about LA and about like.
Do you edit the podcast?
No.
Where so you're not going to cut out the part where you say, "What's our time?"
I don't mind. I keep it raw. I keep it raw and real.
Keep it raw and real.
I go. That's all. It's a little spit and put it on the internet. Throw some logos up.
What a horrifying way to say you don't edit your podcast.
A little bit of.
Is that like spitting on your cock, raw and real?
Yeah.
All right.
You didn't get that reference? Have you never done that before?
I've never spit on my own cock. No.
Really?
No.
Not once.
Never.
Never had to do that.
Never had to do that.
I feel like you haven't lived.
I don't listen. We don't got to get too graphic, but usually, like by the time
we're so deep in here, nobody's listening.
By the time, that's a good point.
Yeah, this is the part of the podcast where you can say literally anything you want, and people have to go out of their way to be like, "What did Erick Hellwig say in 42 minutes and 3 seconds?"
Yeah, this is the part where we like bring on like a white supremacist that nobody even knows.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, I've never spit on my own cock. I mean, generally speaking, like by the time I'm using my cock during a sexual encounter,
sure,
the woman has been pleasured in a way where that will be the lubrication needed, or I'm wearing a condom, in which case it's going to feel like sandpaper for me no matter what.
That's fair.
So it's like I've never needed. But
I mean, like I've spit on it in like circumstances of just like
jerking it.
Yeah, in desperate times, kind of thing.
Yeah, see, I don't jerk with lotion or anything.
I don't either. I'm saying
I just grab my dick and chafe it, and I'm Catholic, so I hold it real tight.
Do you scream at it?
And I'm like, "Don't come! Jesus is watching."
And let me ask you something. When you're jerking off, do you put the cross upside down so Jesus isn't watching? Technically, Is that the whole thing where they rotate the cross?
It would just be he would have.
I just want to lose everybody who's religious. Do you flip the cross over as in like, hey, Jesus is checked out for this next 5 minutes?
Can I told never mind. I was going to tell a stand-up story, but I will bypass it.
What I wanted to talk about though, no, I don't want to talk about spitting on my dick. I want to talk about like how
it says spitting on your dick right there on the little thing.
Dude, I'm sorry.
So that is what you wanted to talk about.
I know I was going to talk about like how LA also passive aggressive is like I think it's the national language of Los Angeles. Like if you're not passive aggressive, you're not speaking the right language here. Mm-hmm. Like no one will ever get mad at you. No one will ever make a scene unless you like live with them or you're like actually friends before you move out here with them or you're dating them, whatnot. I feel like that's the thing we lose out on the most. And or you meet someone who's so toxic that they like have a fucking bender screamer that goes like on TMZ, reports sort of shit.
Yeah, I think it all just comes from like people aren't whatever. It's like I feel like it's like a hack to say at this point, but like in New York and LA are different. You know what I mean? They're just so different. But like so in New York, like when you meet people, they show you like the worst part of them right away.
Absolutely.
Usually when you meet somebody in New York, they're yelling at you.
You want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah, exactly. And then you get to know the Joker, and you're like, oh, he's actually a cool guy. Like he's
but like he actually showed us the surgery he got when he got the scars repaired. He's like it's a great doctor. You're gonna love him.
You got me a job at this theater. Like you start to figure out like how somebody is the more you get to know them in New York, and you become friends with people. That's like. And I think it's because people's adrenaline in New York is so fucking high that you don't realize how everybody is literally, if you're on the street in New York, you're in survival mode subconsciously.
Right.
Now, in LA, it's the exact opposite. People are so nice to you and you meet them, and then they're just slowly revealed to be pieces of shit.
Or there's the times where they're super...
For the people that are pieces of shit. Not everybody's a piece of shit.
Other times where they think they're just too good to talk to you, like the very cold shoulder... don't acknowledge you sort of in the room, which happens in New York as well. It's not just an LA thing.
I sometimes I feel like I'm like, am I doing that? Because like, if I'm like hanging out and there's like a bunch of like open micers and like somebody who can help my career, it's weird because in LA, everybody's just so focused on their fucking career. Right. It's hard to be a human being. Like I really do think it's like, it's the climate. It's not just that like, I think there's a lot of people in New York that don't act like that in New York, that if they moved to LA would start doing that shit. Because I think so it's too. Baked into like how people are here.
I think I've gotten more, I'm more closed off here because of how much hurt I've had here. Like with opportunity and stuff, or people, telling you you're going to have something or like make it sound too good to be true and then it doesn't happen. That I've closed myself off more and I've become more introverted than I probably was in LA, when I was in New York. But I still have that bit of me that's still there where I still have a chip on my shoulder. I'm still a bit like rough around the edges and I say too much or I'm a bit too honest or whatever fucking bullshit people say. I don't know, it semi-balances itself, but I noticed that where I'm like, I'm not super open with people as much as I used to be.
Yeah, I think that's, part of that's just getting older and realizing that you don't need as many friends.
Yeah, I guess that's a sad reality.
It's true. I mean, I was talking with my mom today and she was like, she's like 60. She just turned 60. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I just don't need as many friends as I used to have. She's like, I just kind of want to hang out with my family and keep it simple. And I was like, yeah, I think it's like everybody does that as they get older. Like it's a slope to that.
It's just,
but like when I was in my 20s.
I think it's also because I feel like I'm such a kid at heart that I like loved hanging around with groups of people. It's fun. It's a nice time. I don't know. There's something about... and it could be a lot of deep-rooted issues with me, but it's just like, I don't know. I've always liked being around different groups of different people.
Yeah.
Whether I hate it or I love it, I kind of just enjoy that.
I grew up doing that. I was around a lot of different... I was a military kid, so I was in a new school every year till 8th grade. And then when I was out of school, I would then go home to the military base we lived on, which was also a whole different group of kids. Mm-hmm. And then those kids, their parents were moving every 2 years, and it's not like it was on the same schedule as when we had moved. So I have like multiple memories of like having a friend in my neighborhood and like playing with them on Friday and then doing whatever on the weekend going to school on Monday and then coming back to like knock on their door and it's a new family in the house.
Jesus.
Like that used to happen.
That was like a nice movie transition. Just like,
yeah, but that happened a lot. And it was that's just kind of the way military life is when you live, especially when you're living around nothing but military people. And for whatever reason, my parents wouldn't put me in the military schools on post. They would put me in like the civilian school, which was like, if you live in like fucking Louisiana, the civilian school is like, so like I would just have these crazy, like there was like one school where I was like the only white kid. I was in a Cajun school, which I was just referencing. And then I was in like a really like wealthy school. My parents put me in this private school in New Jersey one year, maybe because they felt bad about the Cajun thing. So they put me in this school where I was like paid a lot of money, and they thought I was like I couldn't write my own name in 4th grade. I almost got held back. Like it was like,
but they're like, he's a protege.
Well, I had all these like gaps in my knowledge because in 3rd grade, like all I learned how to do was like wrestle an alligator. I didn't learn any fucking math or English skills.
We learned that we're all related to Froghorn, Leghorn, and we eat crawfish during the day.
But the point is like I knew so many different kinds of kids, like rich kids, poor kids, military kids, Southern kids, kids from the fucking North, like all over the country.
Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry.
Yeah.
Caramel.
Sure. So like now as an adult, I'm like, I think there's like a complex with maybe like military brats where it's like friends with everyone, friends with no one. And I'd rather...
Jeez. Oh, my God, guys.
I'd rather... Why? This is too sad?
Hollywood, are you listening to this? The next...
What? Friends with everyone, friends with no one? Does that sound like...
Coming to theaters this fall.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think friends with everyone, friends with no one is more like a tag for a movie.
I see the trailer, though.
The movie would be called like...
Hi, my name's Eric. Is Garrett here to play? Hi, it's Eric. Just keep your voice just getting like deeper as you get older. Hey, this is Eric. I don't need friends.
One time I played with a kid. I had a friend in Louisiana. His name was John Ryan.
That sounds made up.
It was his name.
Just saying.
And he was a buddy. He was there for most of the time I was there. And then one of us moved. I don't remember who moved first. But then I was like, one day I was like, recently, like I really want to know what's up with John Ryan. And I wasn't like, you know, sometimes you do stuff, but you're not really thinking about it.
Sure.
I went on Google and I just typed in John Ryan, Louisiana, and hit enter. And Google was like, "You have no friends." Like Google, like why would Google? What would Google show? It'd be like a photo of me and my buddy, and like someone wrote a blog about a kid named John Ryan.
Everybody hurts.
The name
just
John
shows a slideshow of you and John Ryan.
I wanted to take a photo of the Google search, John Ryan, Louisiana. So obviously, like this is a call to John Ryan if he's out there. You know,
John Ryan,
maybe
call this number now.
He's one of 7 OnlyFarts fans that listens to the show 50 minutes in. But look.
Oh, yeah, that is long. We do need a wrap.
Yeah, we'll wrap soon. But I hear what you're saying about like liking being around groups of people, but I am finding myself as I get, you know, older to be like, I just like to have a core group of friends that I've actually had for a long time that remember shit about like me and you, like going back to New York. Like I really did not have that growing up, so I value that a lot more now.
I value you.
Yeah. Is that how we wrap it up?
Well, I got one last thing, and then we can... This is basically the bow on every episode. It's my favorite section. It's called Unsolicited Advice. If you guys have a question, send it to bradstollcomedy@gmail.com.
And this is live? So they're going to... You have a bunch of live listeners right now?
No. It's more like... Right. I asked for it earlier, and then they sent in questions. So I'm going to...
Oh, you already got them over there?
Yeah, I just got one that I'm going to do. Okay. The other 2 or whatever. If you could be a part of any historical event, which one would it be? And who would you be?
If I could be part of any historical event, which one would you be?
And who would you be in the historical event? Like, if it was like a certain person.
I would be in, I don't know, something American.
Your dad at your wedding?
Something, yeah, my dad at my wedding. Yeah.
You just look in the mirror and be like, I'm not going to make it about myself.
Yeah. You're referencing a stand-up bit, which I'll forgive you for because I'm not going to go. We were avoiding that.
I was just saying it's a great bit.
If you guys go to my YouTube page, you'll see the stand-up he's talking about.
We'll plug after. You get your plug after.
I don't know, something like super fucking American and, you know, stars and bars, some shit. I don't know, like maybe like, I'd say, what's the battle that like clinched our independence?
Was it against Britain?
I feel like it was Yorktown or something. I should know this because I used to work in Colonial Williamsburg. I really should know.
Did you really? We should have talked about that. That's great.
Well, fucking go long. Who gives a fuck? Have a 3-hour podcast just randomly in your OnlyFarts.
You know how hard it is to even upload a 30-minute episode onto YouTube? It's hard.
Oh, is that why you're like you keep it under an hour?
Yeah, just because it's easier to transfer to my laptop.
When you say it's hard to upload to YouTube, you mean you just have to walk away from it for an extra hour?
I mean like to get it onto my laptop. It's a pain in the ass.
I got you.
It's a lot to airdrop.
I feel. What do you have? You have to like create extra sources of energy around your computer.
No, it's just like you have to kind of sit and stare at your phone as it like does it. Don't fucking question me. Answer the question.
I just don't get. Look, we're rolling in the convo. I just gave you a fucking diamond. I said I worked in Colonial Williamsburg, which I did. I have so much to talk about, but I gotta fucking sum it up into 30 minutes. Because you're not connecting to the right.
You don't even fucking know.
5G.
You don't even know what fucking event you want to reference to the fucking question I asked.
Okay, I want to be at the Battle of Yorktown.
And who would you be?
Whoever fucking won. I don't know. I would be Hamilton.
Was he at the Battle of Yorktown?
I think he was.
No, you're guessing.
I don't know.
You're trying to see if I would be like, oh yeah. I'm not biting.
Okay, I would be at Ford Theater and I would shoot Lincoln. I don't know. I would fucking. I'd be 9/11. No, I would be something cool. What's a cool historical? You should make this like a multiple choice. You should give me like 3 options.
You should be like Bono the day after 9/11.
Bono. What did Bono do?
I don't know. Come up with some fucking annoying like self-righteous speech about himself.
It would have been cool to...
We have to come together as a nation.
Personally...
From the Battle of U2.
Remember that's the old Chappelle bit where he's like, who's the fuck? It's like Nelly or something. He's like, he saw like Nelly talking about 9/11. He's like, who cares? Who fucking cares what Nelly thinks the day after 9/11? No, like, fuck it.
That is the worst question ever. Where were you on 9/11? It's like I was in 4th grade and I nearly had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Were you really in 4th grade?
I was.
I was in high school. My dad worked in the Pentagon.
Wow.
On 9/11. He's alive. You know that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But it was fucking scary. We thought he might be. See, we could have talked about that. We could have talked about Colonial Williamsburg. I thought my dad was dead.
You know what it is? Every time that I have Eric in a podcast form where we sit down, it's always therapy of like, why should you get back into stand-up comedy?
At least we didn't talk about your dad for 45 minutes. That's what you did on mine.
You know what?
I felt bad. I was like,
you dug into that core.
I dug into that core.
Quite a bit. You're like, well, why are you like that? I'm like, it's probably because my dad.
I felt bad about that too.
That's fine. It was
have you talked? You haven't. You don't want to go in, but you haven't.
No.
Dabbled.
No.
With these guys, you keep it. This show, you're wearing a robe.
Yeah.
Answering questions.
Sure.
I don't know if the kids on TikTok want that stuff.
They don't.
But do you think you're getting? Are your fans? You're getting like the rough and tumble TikTok crowd. You're getting the guys and the gals.
Honestly, I don't know what I'm getting because half the time they speak a lot of nonsense and they're not very open, and sometimes they just don't even respond to shit. So it's like they're not that like. They'll like be like, oh, I'm the first one to comment on here, or like, love your content, man. It's like very surfacey, so you don't really know anything about them.
So you're not having like interactions with them.
I really don't know what my fan base is like, to be honest. Sometimes I do. Sometimes people tell me about their day and stuff, but like again, they always have like meme pictures, so I don't even know what they look like half the time. They're probably in high school.
Yeah.
Judging by how like they're probably incels if I were to guess. Like. They all just seem like they always make dark jokes that are not funny, and I'm like, okay.
I know what I
feel like I'm babysitting half the time.
I know what my fan base is like. And
we know they're a bunch of fucking 50-year-olds in Indiana.
I wish I didn't, but they are. They do like my podcast. Somebody wrote me something very nice the other day, which was like had kind of a rough 2 weeks leading up to today, really. And somebody wrote me something nice last night, and I was like, I wanted to write back like, this really means a lot. That like you're enjoying the content.
Absolutely.
But then like right after that he made a joke about like convincing his wife to give him head, and I was like, oh
Jesus Christ.
All right,
you know what's funny? They grab you at like this really nice compliment, and then they immediately bring it out with something like, all right, you need to read the room.
Can I say what I think is happening though? Like the people that are listening to my show aren't comics. They aren't comedians.
But they want to be. They want to be funny.
I think they're just trying to match me and like I'm irreverent on my show, but like I'm funny.
It's kind of like when you were in New York and you just basically were like, you meet somebody for the first time and they're like, oh, you're a comedian. They're like, yeah, there's one time I stuck a finger in a girl's ass and I didn't ask. It's like, okay, dude, that's not funny. That's just a weird truth.
That's a weird.
That you just
I don't want to deal with.
You just assaulted somebody.
And am I supposed to like tell you? Am I supposed to like report you now?
He's like, I'm actually a research analyst in finance. I'm sorry, man. I don't get out a lot.
I actually didn't do that. I just thought it was funny.
I just thought it was really funny. And then we find out like a week later that guy got fired because he was definitely like assaulting female coworkers.
Are you now telling a real story that happened to you? Because it's like you kept going with it.
I'm so easy to throw the finance bro like down the fucking staircase because it's just like it is such a fun person to make fun of, which I miss about it. New York. There's no finance people out here. They're boring stiffs that I always love to make fun of because they get hammered drunk and they're usually the first people to get thrown out of a comedy show.
There's a fun level of like successful, wealthy people in New York that you can fuck with that still like go to comedy shows and stuff. Like there's more like tiers of society in New York.
Yeah, it's there's an elitist like ranking system, whereas in LA everyone is faking until you find out, oh, you actually have money.
There's two things in LA. There's woke actors and producers wearing goat heads fucking people in blood pentagrams. That's all there is here. It's like everybody trying to fuck in a blood pentagram and everybody that is. Like a construction worker and a waiter, a cop. I'm just naming the village people. Yeah.
You know, you got the waiter, you got the Indian chief.
No, I'm saying if you cut open,
in New York,
if you cut open like if New York was a cake and you cut it down the middle and looked at the flavors, it would be like a swirl of everything.
And then if you cut into the cake in LA, you take the cake out and it's just empty inside. You're like,
there is no cake.
You're like, wait, it's just icing on the outside and there's just empty in the inside.
They're
no
like,
cake. You're not gonna know what's inside the cake. I'll never let you know. Anyways, how's the cake? You're like, there's no cake. You're like, okay, bye.
You can't have cake. There's cake.
And they just stop answering the phone. You're like, what did I do wrong? And they're like, nothing. We just can't handle this emotionally.
I think if you're not living in LA, you're doing it right.
I guess that's the motion. Eric, where can they find you?
You want my home address? Yes. I'm at.
Oh, you can always look up his Facebook and privately message him about how much you don't like him.
I want to. Were you the one that came on my podcast and said stuff and then went just bleep it out? I think it was. No, it wasn't you. Sometimes people do that on my podcast.
Oh, I did, but it was for like.
Oh, it was you.
Yeah, but it was for family shit that I should have been talking about it all.
No, that was different. Sometimes people will like.
I don't like that.
Say stuff to me and then they'll go, "Can you take that out?" I'm like, how about you just don't give me editing work? Like, I don't want to have to go back in and tell people. So I almost
happened more when I did Brunch Buddies because we had so many guests and they would just be like, yeah, I can't really say that. Can you take that out? If they find out, I'll get in trouble. I'm like, great.
Yeah, all I do is when I get to the part where they want it taken out, I just put an audio of me going, my guest is a pussy. My guest is a pussy. My guest is a pussy. And then it comes back into the conversation. Where can you find me?
Social media.
TikTokers. At Erick Hellwig, ERICK. Hell, like the place you go. Wig, like a thing you put on your head.
I'm going to literally write it. They don't need it. You don't have to go that much.
Okay, fine. And then listen to my podcast, Bring in the Backups. It's a sports podcast. I've had Brad on it.
We did not talk about sports.
No, you got to do that bit I asked you about too, where you like shit on my podcast. Remember? You didn't read the email. It's fine. Brad Stoll's episode on Bringing the Backups is hilarious. So check that out, obviously.
Please subscribe to his podcast. Get Eric to join TikTok and stop using fucking weird visuals of football games and start having video episodes of his fucking shit. Because people like seeing an angry person. They don't like hearing an angry person.
No, enjoy giving all your information to China, TikTokers. I hope that doesn't come back to get you.
You sound like everyone was like, the government's trying to put a chip inside of us. It's like, really? Go look at your cell phone. All right, everybody.
Okay, well, go look at every sci-fi movie made in the last 30 years. The government is trying to put a chip in us. If they do it to dogs, they're doing it to us 5 years later.
Guys, like I said, thank you for joining. Thank you for coming on the pod, Eric.
It can't end like that.
It can't end like that.
All right, buddy. Look, we're still going to get in under an hour. See? Look at that. We got under an hour.
Thank you for joining the pod.
You can get so many clips out of this, Brad.
I'm going to get so many clips. Thank you as always. And as always, bye.